Hey, what up?
Georgie, how you going?
Going super good.
Good.
Ready to go.
Do you know what time it is on the Gold Coast? It's 5:25 a.m.
Really?
What
Okay,
time?
yeah. Yeah.
What
That's
time is it where you're from?
Let me check.
Where
It
you
is
from again?
Los Angeles, 11:25
Uh, PM?
AM. AM.
AM. Oh,
Yeah.
right. So
We just woke
you're
up.
still on second of January or third?
Oh, if I could tell you. I, I don't it's the 2nd of January,
Second. So
day
I'm
2.
so I'm I'm from the future.
Yeah. Wow. How are stocks doing in the
Yeah.
future?
Still pretty shit for now.
No, what are you
And
talking about?
Australia still and Australia still has a brokerage fee for everything that you have to buy.
Yeah, that's pretty terrible. Pretty terrible.
It is. It is. It's such a it stops. I feel like it might stop so many young people from actually investing.
I think it does. Yeah, it
Yeah,
definitely does.
yeah. Because you like I follow some investors where I don't know if you know Sugar Mama TV. So she
Maybe.
has this thing. She has this thing called $1,000 project, which is awesome. But I can just imagine so many people who are like in the youth not being attracted to that idea because unless you watch every single video of hers, it's very hard to know exactly where to start to save and budget and stuff like that. So everyone thinks investing is such a scary thing. Anyway, so today we're not just here to talk about finances. So firstly, I want to congratulate you on your music career.
Oh, yeah, we're getting started.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so we've been talking about doing this live for a while, and I think you agreed that it's okay for me to ask you some pretty personal
Yeah.
questions because we want to
L-
know financialism's story.
Let's do it. Let me get my hat
Let's
on so I can
let's.
think.
All right. So based on your page, you are from Soviet Russia. I mean, well, your
Well,
mum is
yeah,
probably.
formerly known as, yeah.
Yeah, and then your mum fled the Russian
Yeah.
Soviet regime, communist regime in the what 90s?
Yep, in the early 90s it was kind of because my dad is Jewish, so Jewish people were very highly discriminated against in the Soviet Union.
Right,
And
right.
like, good luck starting a business if your last name is Roykman. Like, you're not
Yeah,
gonna have
yeah.
any friends. Ironically, he said he's gonna catch up later, so he sent us ahead. And
Mm,
28 years later, we still waiting.
right. Is it because do you think something might have happened to him
No,
or
he's fine. He's got a
oh,
new family. He just chose to not come. Yeah.
all right. Well, we'll get into that a bit later. So being brought up in the Soviet regime, so were you like how old were you when you left
So
USSR?
I was a baby, and I was a limbo baby because my birth certificate says USSR, but the USSR
Mm.
fell apart before I was born. So it was
Yeah,
kind
it
of
was in the
like being rebuilt.
early
Yeah.
90s, right? Yeah.
I believe
And
like 91 it fell apart.
right, right. And because I from my research, the Soviet was very a secular to the point where having a religion was actually like you would get crucified literally for having a religion. So I guess that's your dad's issue. That was your dad's issue at the time.
Yeah, part of it definitely, but you can kind of blend in if
Hmm.
you kept it low key, like just don't go to a church or anything like that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but if you were low key about it, like it was one thing, but to be Christian was very different than being Jewish. Like Christian people
right,
look the other way, but if you're Jewish, then it's
right,
like,
right. And so, if you don't mind me asking, do you have a faith that you belong to, or are you just the believer of finance and that's it?
I don't have a religion that I subscribe to.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't. Yeah, but I have like a lot of cultural things that I inherited from like the Jewish faith, Christianity. Like
Right.
my great grandma was Muslim, so
Yeah,
I got
right.
it.
Yeah, I have to give you a shout out. Thank you so much for bringing in Islamic finances in some of your videos. So I belong to the Muslim faith,
Oh
and
no.
mm, yeah, and so a lot of your videos where you actually talk about the practicality of Islamic finance and how it's very charitable, and how I really liked in one of your videos where you actually talk about credit interest and how
Mm.
lender abuse is such a big thing in this world, and you actually touch on it via Islamic finance. So I really appreciated that. Um, so what was it like to grow up around such a warrior mother? So I've seen some of your posts on your mum. She's beautiful, right? And for her to flee such a toxic environment at that time, um, flee that nation and come into the US as a refugee, I'm assuming.
Hmm.
What was that like growing up with such a fierce woman?
Yeah, so she's definitely
And like,
fierce. You have to be fierce to survive, and
oh, absolutely.
she's one of those people who I call it speaking Russian when you just like go straight for it, like go for the gut.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she's always like, she's not sparing of feelings. She will not
Right.
walk around emotions. She will just be like, "That's stupid," and that taught me a lot
Yeah.
about not caring, because you can't care about other
Yeah.
people's opinions all the time.
No.
You can't let them
Mm.
dictate what you do. So let
Mm.
me restate that. I still care about people's opinions, but I'm not going to let them dictate my own
Yeah.
actions for the most part. Um, so she was always very ruthless, saying, "That's a bad idea. Don't do that. Your hair looks dumb." So that built me up a lot of confidence, where
Yeah.
someone's just always
Yeah.
like judging, which comes from a place of survival. And like, we have to
Yeah.
fit in enough and kind of become part of the main culture, or else we're not going to live. So
Yeah.
that's what it's about, and that really built me up a
So
whole
that was
bunch.
your
So like,
mum.
mm-hmm, yeah,
So that was your
that's my
mum
mom.
about fitting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. About fitting
Yeah,
in, and I guess somewhat assimilating to the American culture.
yeah,
Yeah,
assimilate.
yeah.
The first thing she did was grabbed a newspaper and was like, okay, what jobs pay a lot of money? And
Right.
she was like, computer programmer. I don't know what a computer is, but I'm gonna turn one on and figure it out. So that's how she
Mm.
started. She became a computer programmer.
Oh, what? Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
she
that's
just
that's
thought that makes
insane.
money. We need money, so I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, and so she was obviously your one of your biggest inspiration, I'm assuming, because you talk really highly of her in your page, and I just love it because I'm very close to my mom as well, and she's definitely showed me that you can change your career, you can change your life no matter what age you are. And my mom
Yeah,
was actually a COVID nurse. She was a COVID nurse on the Gold Coast. We were very lucky compared to the US that Queensland got rid of COVID, like at least localized cases, very quickly.
mm,
But yeah, but so I'm very proud of my mother. So I can totally I relate to you. My mom's the same. I think it might have been an early '90s mom's traits where they're just very. I guess it's the Generation X thing. Like they're just they want to fit in. They want to get the job done. There's in Australia we call it not beating around the bush, and
yeah,
so it's not like they ever pussyfooted around any of the comments that they made. Like it was just you get told what you get told, and then it's always from a place of love and an affection. Of course, the underlying
yeah,
message is I'm here to protect you, and and um, and that's how we just have to live if you're going to be under my roof. I have to say that I've definitely veered away from because I'm from a kind of a traditional background, uh, and so it's kind of like orthodox in many ways. So I've definitely stepped out. Like just having an Instagram page is kind of like unorthodox, and like especially the topics that
Yeah,
I discuss so um, openly. It's my parents do get kind of worried about me, especially I probably can never go back to my own country sometimes, I reckon. But yeah. Anyway,
I
back
bet.
to you.
Yeah.
This is one of my first lives, so I am slightly nervous. So forgive
Oh,
me
no
for
worries.
that.
I actually can't go back to my old country either because I could get drafted. So like I'm waiting. I
Oh,
think next year I reach the age where like I'm safe. So I'm trying to get
right.
back to Ukraine and like kind of see my old relatives and what's going on with them. I talk to them through Viber like every few months. So like definitely
Often.
call in,
Yeah.
send them money and all that. It's a very different life there.
And how the fact that you've left Russia and your mom's left Russia, has that affected your family back home? Like not to compare it to North Korea, but you know how the defectors
Right.
in North Korea get like three
Yeah.
generations of trauma. Like, is that? I hope it's not nothing even close to that.
So despite like the regime, my mom grew up as a very happy child. She didn't know what she was missing out on. She's like, okay, cool, they have genes. We don't have genes in the Soviet Union. Big deal.
Mm,
So she had free education. There were a lot
right,
of great things about the Soviet Union,
right.
and I they had kids like walking around neighborhoods every Saturday gathering material to recycle it. So it was very community based. There was a
Yeah,
lot of great things. The education was so hardcore, but
yeah.
they did like force like ideologies. There was no free thinking. As soon as you were like, well, maybe there's a better way, it's like, what? What did you
Mm,
say? If you
yeah.
took a day off work and whereas at the movie theater, police could come in and take you to jail, be like, what are you doing ditching work? So very different than like our capitalistic freedoms, right? Of
So
pros and cons to
yeah,
every system.
yeah, that's right. That's right. I think same with my culture. It's very community based. Like we like if it's your problem, it's my problem too. But sometimes it's a bit too much their problem, and it's just like you need to. There's definitely a pro and con with every sort of lifestyle, I guess.
Right.
And
Hmm.
one of the books that I swear by, and I'm always talking about it, is Your Money or Your Life by Vicki Robbins,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
it's always talking about how at the end of the day, our money is here to like after it giving us a comfortable living, right, like a safe and comfortable living, it really should be used for back into the community where you're helping one another, where you're being there for one another. And that is such in alignment from my Bangladesh Muslim ethnicity. I can see all your friends hyping you up for your rap career. They're all like 100% the best rapper. So yes, you are. You're pretty good. Okay, so do you have any siblings, George?
I have two sisters that I never met.
Right.
Uh, so I've been like, I message them on Facebook every now and then the second one just turned 18, so I sent her a message like, "Hey, did you know we were related?" She was like, "I had no idea you were real," and
Oh my
that was
gosh.
a lot of fun. And they actually live in LA, but I just send them like happy birthdays and things like that. If they want to like initiate, I feel like I offered enough opportunities for that. I was like, if you
Yeah.
guys ever want to, like, I'm always down, but I'm not gonna keep following up. That's
Right.
ball from their court. Yeah.
So that's your I guess you're from your dad's side?
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
his new family, and I'm like, I'm all for it. Actually,
Yeah.
his eldest daughter messaged me like many years ago, and we just started talking like pretty consistently, and it was interesting. She was like, I always thought you were older than me, and I was like, no, you're older than me,
Yeah.
and it was cool, but it never really went anywhere. So we have like this kind of happy birthday, happy Christmas type of online relationship, if you can call it that.
Yeah. Hold on. My laptop's about to lose charge.
No worries.
I'm just
I'm
gonna
gonna give it some energy right now.
um plugging it in.
Yeah, so someone's asking
So
how come I'm
hey,
taking that philosophy right now. Nice. That's a
so
different plug.
I was gonna ask you, what's American plugs like?
Yeah, let me see. All my chargers are so far away.
Ish
Yeah,
asking all the pressing questions.
I'm not gonna find one. But there's a follow-up question that I think is important. Where how come I'm taking that
Yeah,
philosophy of kind of like not putting in the effort anymore? And I actually messaged one of them the other night, and it's just saying Happy New Year. So like I feel like my door should always be open, and it should be clear that my door is open. But you want to respect boundaries and not push. So like it'd be awesome. Maybe it would be terrible. Actually, I
yeah,
don't know. But
yeah.
um,
And
I'm
in
all for it.
response to the real Danny Lemon, who actually asked, a shout out to her, her or him, but yeah, that was a pretty good question. I think I agree with you. After you put yourself out there, and if you don't get the same sort of response that you anticipated, you
Yeah.
have to let it be. And also, it's not an ego thing, but it is a jab in your self worth to some extent, saying,
Hmm.
I'm not like I'm not me seeking you out is not me telling you I benefit from your relationship. Me seeking you out is
Hmm.
out of love and affection. But if you don't
Yeah.
want to return that, then I'll let you be. But just letting you know, I'm not going to be overextending myself because it's not like it's really about the message that you want to send out to the world,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Um, so that's a
And
really good question, actually.
yeah, I make sure that I do that for like almost all my friends. Like on my Facebook, I will go through my friends and I will send people a message like once every 18 months. And sometimes I rekindle like friendships and things like that. So I always have that like out there. If I haven't talked to someone on Instagram for a long time, like sometimes we go a few weeks without talking. Like we'll send a couple messages and it's
Yeah,
like if it turns into a convo, it turns into a convo. But I
yeah,
make sure to put in that 5 seconds of energy because
right.
it could turn into a huge investment one day.
Yeah, some of your friends are actually saying it should go both ways. Absolutely, and I'm one of those people that's always reaching out. Like I'm an empath, right? And
Mm,
I'm also, I think, even though I'm an engineer, I really shouldn't be talking like this. But I think I'm kind of into. I have an intuition where I feel like sometimes my friends might need me, and
mm,
I'll just reach out and say hello. Just
yeah,
and you wouldn't believe so many times my friends will respond saying either A, hey, I've been thinking of you, or B, I've been going through a really rough time and I'm really happy that you've reached out.
yeah,
So your approach of like stopping contacting your half brothers and sisters is not for anyone to know. Take that message as, oh, don't reach out to people as soon as they stop reaching out to you because they might be going through something in their
yeah,
life, but it's also conserving your energy as
right.
well.
And people change. So like people grow like in the future, like in 20 years, they're gonna see, hey, every New Year's there was a Happy New Year. So like
Yeah,
if you want to change your life, you could always reach out. Like I'll go get I won't eat out. Never I'll go have a picnic
yeah, yeah,
with you.
yeah, yeah. You've inspired me to go, cook more often and take like more picnics and like really watch where I'm spending my money. I have to say, eating out is probably where I spend my most amount of money, and so
I
I'm
don't
trying
think
to
you're alone.
hone that in. Um, I was gonna ask you something now. It's completely skipped my mind.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, eating it
Yeah.
with friends.
Oh no, no, no. I was gonna say another thing. Like, maybe I'm psychoanalyzing your siblings too much, but it might be. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. It might be because they are not prepared to hear the truth about how you feel about maybe your father. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I know we had huge talks before, especially in the
Oh, right.
beginning.
Mm,
But it faded out. And with the
right.
younger sister, we definitely haven't. It was just like, hey, by
Right.
the way. But I feel like our bonds would be completely independent of that. Like it has nothing to do with us. Like,
No. Right.
yeah.
So, I was like blessed to have a father figure in my life, right? But how was that like for you? Like, did you have any sort of like uncles, or did your mom have a boyfriend? Did you have someone to model off, or did your mom play both parts? Like,
I had that guy right there. There's Goku over there. Yeah.
right,
So a lot of cartoons like gave me and animes gave me a lot of that like male stuff, but
right.
I don't really believe in that. Like
No, no,
male,
no,
female.
no, no. No,
Uh,
but I'm talking about, I guess, more the dynamic. Yeah, no, I'm definitely not promoting any sort of toxic patriarchy here, but or toxic masculinity. But because like I'm just saying from the difference from my perspective, I had both a mother
yeah,
and
yeah.
father,
I
and
had,
I
I
was
had,
wondering if that affected you spiritually, financially, emotionally, academically. You
yeah.
know,
I don't, I mean, I'm sure it did, but in ways that I can never measure because I don't have anything to compare it to.
right?
So I feel like my mom did a great job. Like, I feel like I would be a little bit worse off if my dad had stayed in the picture, because
Yeah, yeah,
my mom had free reign. Like whatever she said
yeah,
was like what I was gonna be doing. And then my grandparents joined the
yeah,
picture, so I lived with them
yeah.
for until they passed away. So I learned a lot there, and I don't feel like I missed out at all. In fact, I feel like some
Yeah.
people might be missing out. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah.
well, from my perspective of how you operate, from I know you for about like 6 and a bit month now, and I've been talking to you back and forth. You are one of like the friendliest people I've ever met, right? And you are so kind, and you're so willing and eager to help, right? And like I can't, I think especially like I'm a bit older than you, so like especially the people who are younger than me who's going into investing and learning the whole debt-free journey and the debt-free community and how it's totally okay not to live that lavish life, and well, from seemingly from the outside, but I think you've always prioritized your inner peace, and you actually give that message really well. And I don't know if that's like so my other question was going to be to you is like, what brought you on this debt-free journey, number one? And can we like say like the debt-free journey is so much more than just money, so much more than money management. It's such a way of life, and it's almost like a the word philosophy was used earlier. It's like it's a philosophy. It's a very humble way of living, but it's such a beautiful way of living. And I see your post on charities. I see your post on ethical investment. What brought you on this line? Like, what was that trigger point that brought you here? Because you're so
Yeah.
young. So when that did that happen to you?
I think I've been primed for it for most of my life without really knowing it, and no one really knowing. My mom had no idea what she was doing, turning me into an investor. She didn't know. She just
Right.
mentioned like, oh, Susie Orman says $100 a month can turn into something big. And like
Yeah.
by the time she finished that sentence, I was already gone thinking about my Yu-Gi-Oh cards over here.
Right.
Um,
Right. Right.
uh, but essentially I had a lot of privilege, even though we come from like that path of like there was welfare checks and all of that. But when my grandparents came, they were saving the Social Security, and we stopped really worrying about money
Mhm.
at that point.
Mhm.
So I never wanted much, and I always had everything I wanted because I never really wanted too many things and toys.
Mhm.
My mom said no actually one time to me. I went to Toys R Us. She was like, "You could pick one toy," and I picked a T-Rex from Jurassic Park. It was $40, and she was like,
Mhm.
"Not that toy. That's too expensive." So I was
Mhm.
like, "Okay." And the next day, I got my mom's boyfriend. We came back to Toys R Us, and he's like, "Pick one toy," and I just took him straight to it. Came home, busted it out, and I was like, "Yo." My mom
Yeah.
donated it 10 years later. I will never forgive her. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
part of it was having my grandparents create a fund for me, right, for college. They just saved up cash, literal cash. So I wasn't starting out with like debt, and I'm not a big spender naturally. So a lot of it was like biological favoritism for where I live. I have certain genes that don't get a whole that don't give me all this dopamine rushing chemicals when like I'm spending money, right? So I
So
feel
was your mum like that? Like she wasn't a big spender.
nah, she different. She
She,
different.
she yeah.
She wants Chanel, she wants Gucci, she wants all that
Hey,
stuff.
Chanel and Gucci, they're pretty good investments if you can
They can
maintain
be.
them. Yeah, they can
She
be.
turned it
But
into a business of sorts. So, but for me, I never got joy. Like my mom was like, "Oh, do you want this PlayStation?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know." It never really brought me excitement, like new things and stuff. The only thing I cared about is actually playing and competing. So Pokemon cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Like
right.
I like to compete. And that's the first time where I knew, okay, I need more in order to get better cards. But my mom wasn't buying me them. So I had to trade my way up. And I was like 9 years old, trading with like 15-year-olds, trying not to get ripped off and still get
Yeah.
what I want. And that kind of like primed me for stocks. So
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
these coincidences built up. And then finally, I was just in the car and I don't know where it came from, but the thought was like, wait a second. In my pocket, I have this device with the answer to any question that we have knowledge about. And I was just like, okay, investing and stocks podcast, go. And that was it.
How old were you when you did that?
Um, that was so I was born in 1993, and I was probably like 22 when I first did
Whoa.
that. Driving to and from school, maybe 21 or 20, um, somewhere around there. And I was just learning and learning and learning. Then I downloaded a stock simulator app, so it's like fake
Mm.
stocks, real time. And I was just trading there, and I was like, man, trading stocks kind of sucks. If I had just held it for like these last 2 months, that would have been way better. And
Mm-hmm.
then I was like, wait a second. Weight Watchers just had Oprah come on, and that was it. I was like, I want to be a part of this. And then I ran to my bank account, and I was like, make an investing account and bought some stocks. That was it.
And were you working as like, part time, like just so the young people who are, I
Yeah,
started
so I
my
was
career off in KFC, like.
yeah, I was at a restaurant. I was doing parties for kids. I was working as a behavior analyst like 2 days a
We'll
week.
get into that soon. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
seven days a week I was working. This was already after college, but right before I started all those jobs and started investing consistently. I had money that my grandparents left from my college, and
Mm.
college turned out to be a lot cheaper than we thought because I went to a community college first, saving 30,000. So my mom had 10K, and she's like, you know what, this is going to be yours, and you do what you want with it. And I was like, I'm going to invest it.
Explain the concept to me. So in Australia, like most public unis, we still have to pay this thing called HEX or HEX Help, and it's usually a very low interest loan from the government, right? And I think I think, correct me if I'm wrong, my Aussie friends, I think the interest is more dependent on CPI than anything else. Um, so that's just a government loan that you can take up if you can't afford your fees, like, upfront. So what is community college?
So that's like if either you're really financially savvy or you get rejected from all three universities that I applied to.
Right.
Um, you can go to community college where you get the first 2 years is
Hmm.
just the general classes that everyone needs to take,
Right.
and maybe a couple for your major. So I did that, and that saved me $30,000 because I would have been at UCLA doing the same thing for like
Hmm.
times 30 the price. So
Mm.
community colleges are way cheaper. It's not like tens of thousands for courses. It's hundreds. And if you're a local, the government can help you with like fee waivers and things like that. I
Mm.
had one semester where it was like $42, including a bus pass and all of
Mm.
that. So that was really cool. The books cost money, but I found ways around that.
Hmm.
And that
Well,
was
second hand. So many of my uni friends who were because no matter what, if you're a student, life is hard, right? And
yeah,
so they would go second hand or library if it had stocks. Like there are ways around it.
yeah. And
Yeah.
in my college classes, someone's saying like, hey, some people go to community college later on in life because it's more accessible and they want to, get an education. And that was so true because in a university, there
Hmm.
would be most people were closer to my age. There
Hmm.
were people who weren't, of course, but in community college, it was a whole range of people. And I
Right.
was like 18 sitting in classes with people who were in their 40s and their 50s, and I was making friends with them. I was
Yeah.
making bonds and connections.
Yeah.
So that was like the coolest thing ever. That that I really loved getting exposure to. My first college class was when I was 14, and I took Russian. And that's another cool thing you could do. You could take college classes while you're in high school, like
Mm-hmm.
over your breaks and things like that. So I got to meet a lot of people older, and it was awesome exposure.
And so one of your friends just said that, oh, $46 a unit in-state community college tuition. So does the price have anything to do with the qualifications that you come out with? Like, are
No,
you less qualified if you come out of a community college
not at
or?
all. No.
Okay, so that's
You just can't get a bachelor's in community college.
right. So it's like a diploma
Yeah,
as
you
the
get an AA degree, which is like you can then do 2 more years in a university, like
right.
a Cal State. Well, I'm in California, so it's a Cal State or a UC, which is
Hmm.
University of California, and you could go either way. And that's really it. You just finish the second half of your education like that,
Yeah.
and you save tens of thousands of dollars.
And you said the word local, so that means you have to be a citizen to be qualified to
Uh,
go into community college? Citizen of
No, there were
America?
there were
No?
people out of state, but not just out of state, out of country. Like I met people who are from France and
Right,
Russia, and a lot of people from Sweden. Uh,
right.
those folks were the most fun. Like I met these two Swedish girls, and whenever I needed a place to stay, like I have class in the morning, I don't want to go home. I would
Yeah,
just go to their house, and they were like, okay. So
yeah.
yeah, there's people
Sense of
coming, but
community. Yeah,
yeah, they do have to pay more though. Like there's definitely an advantage to local.
yeah,
And I know a lot of 18-year-olds, they want to leave the local, see the world,
yeah.
and it's going to cost you more. And I would
How
personally,
much more percentage wise? Like, is it going to
um,
be way more
oh
than
geez,
$46 a unit?
yeah, I way more. And I don't know the number, but if
No.
you're going into a UC, it's I think it could be tens of thousands of dollars more. Um,
Yeah. Yeah,
Out of state.
international students fee in Australia is one a very, very expensive.
Yeah, it's huge. I'm trying to look it up, but
Don't,
it's
I can Google
yeah,
it
it's not
later.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, international student fees is like so expensive, double or triple the cost. I don't know the exact figures like you either, but my husband, he did his Bachelor of Accounting in Australia,
Yeah,
and at that time he was an international student, and it was, oh my gosh, through the roof as well.
yeah,
Okay, so you were talking about being a behavioral analysis, and for some weird reason, that's always drawn me like to you even more because I just loved your approach to how you use your behavioral analysis relating to the stock market and how people buy and sell. And
yeah,
um, so if you want to tell some of our friends as to how you
yeah.
became a behavioral analysis.
So, I'm a board certified behavior analyst. I got my certification in 2019. That was the hardest test I've ever taken in my life yet. It was
Mm-hmm.
extremely fun, and it was definitely a journey.
Yeah.
But then, what behavior analysis really is just it's the notion that consequences shape behavior. If every time you do something, one thing always happens, it's probably going to impact the future rate of that behavior.
Yeah.
And the stock market isn't just about like knowing prices of businesses and like what's worth what is value versus price. It's more about your behaviors. Are you logging on once a month to invest? That
Mm-hmm.
is more telling of your future returns
Mm-hmm.
than what companies are you investing in.
Mm-hmm. I think the day I started press follow Funancialism was the day that you posted this post, like I think we were like mid COVID, and you posted this thing about, oh, people are more likely to buy and sell based on how they're feeling at the time. So, and you were basing it around the climate of America at the time, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that just blew my mind because I think most people see the stock market as finance and world trade and business, but but at the end of the day, the people who are trading stocks are human, right? So
Yeah.
we are very much subject to our own emotions and our own behaviors and like how we choose to and to me, a behavior is how we choose to respond to certain triggers. I
Mhm.
don't know if that's a key definition, but I would, so I would imagine like if we see so many people taking money out of their retirement funds, like, because they're
Right.
feeling anxious, not necessarily that something's happened to them yet, but
Hmm.
yeah. So I
Yeah.
think that
There's
post
a
drew
lot
me
of
to
that.
you.
I was doing like evolutionary theory where um if people were not optimistic for the
Mm,
most part, like if a majority of the population wasn't pessimistic, then a majority of the population would not have survived, like
right.
for tens of thousands, if not millions of years. And so when it comes to the stock market, it represents our future hopes for, the world,
Yeah.
basically. Um, and that's why the market, in my opinion, has a biological like inclination to increase in price over time because
Mm-hmm.
humans on always have that vision of one day we're going to be in space, one day
Yeah.
we're going to take energy from black holes and
Mm-hmm.
create societies that could live without stars and heat from stars. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's why I think like when it comes to the stock market, people are like, you know what, we're going to innovate. Even though it's COVID, there's going to be something that will take place, but a lot of people are thinking short term in those
Mm-hmm.
moments. So they're like, okay, I'm gonna try to sell it, and then when it falls lower, I'm gonna buy it back.
Mm-hmm.
And they never do. They're like, okay, it's gonna fall even lower. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
this is not the bottom yet. I'm gonna wait one more week, and then it goes up a little bit, and they're like, okay, it's gonna fall back down, and then it never does,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they
And
lost.
looking at and this is a really key point, and this is one of the main reasons why I've started my page, contrary to what the name suggests, it's actually applying critical thinking to your day-to-day decision, but it affects your long-term, like, livelihood, right? So when, like, especially to the youth who are watching this, like, when you're making any decision in life, try to draw as many evidence as you can. So look at the stock market, look at the performance over 20, 30, 40, 50 years, whatever, however much data you can
Yeah,
get. And you'll see the dips are actually so few and far in between. You'll have like little minuscule, but the overall trend is actually on the rise, right?
right.
And that's with everything in life. And you once posted this thing about getting analysis paralysis. Like, once you gather all the evidence, you have to have that hope and that faith that you'll be okay, right? And that, like, that's where the empowerment part of my page is from. Is like,
Mhm.
you have to have your faith in your own ability to make the right decision. And once you gather all the information and you strategize appropriately, you'll have to have the faith that you will be okay even if the market drops. You will be okay if you lose your job and you take this leap. I think people keep preempting their own really unhappy ending,
Yeah.
right? Even
Mhm.
with when it comes to the stock market, and it's just like I find people like they're so fearful of making some decisions, and it's not like, I always get labeled being an idealist, but it's like not necessarily, because I'm basing a lot of my decision on actual data and
Right.
research. It's that's right. Not man, this Danny, she's like on fire today. Yeah, that's right. Knowledge leads to confidence. That's right. And after that confidence is built, you have to take action. Knowledge is no use unless you can apply it as well.
Right.
Right? And so what guided you to this work of behavior? Because it just intrigues me. Like the post that you do on stock market and you base it on behavior, like what got you from finance to then wanting to become a behavioral analyst?
Um, they everything kind of happened at the same time for me, and the closer, okay, I don't know if everyone's gonna like this, but the closer you look at behavior, the less freedom you see in individual choice. And a lot of behaviorists
Mm-hmm.
don't even believe in choice, and they
Mm-hmm.
believe that free will has more evidence to being a myth than, or just like a framework that we use to negotiate like what is existence, what is a human,
Mhm.
than
Mhm.
actually like what the science shows, where if you could be the most peaceful person on earth, and then all of a sudden you beat up your wife, you leave her, you get with a 16-year-old girl, and you skip town, all because you're having a tumor growing in your brain, and you would never, like, where's the
Right.
free will in that, right? um and the
Mm.
closer, like 100
But
years
you can
ago, if you
break
were to
out.
have,
You can
you could,
break out of that
you can what?
behavioral chains. It's called cognitive behavior. You can break out of those behavioral patterns. Like, yes, once it's also about self-assessment and self-awareness. Once you are aware that you are behaving a certain way, we all have a
Hmm.
consciousness. You can seek help and therapy, and then seek, like, I've had to seek cognitive behavioral therapy because I would get, like,
Awesome.
I've been subject to many types of bullying, and um,
Yeah.
I, at the end of the day, one of my favorite bosses once told me is, like, you can't change others, but you can change how you respond and how you
Right.
assert yourself. And so I actually went to a CBT therapist who completely changed my
Oh,
life.
that's awesome.
And
Yeah.
so,
CBT.
so is that not part of free will, though?
Well, if you look at large scale numbers of people, you can predict almost like with extremely high certainty who's going to go to therapy and who's not going to go to therapy.
Right.
What groups
Okay.
of people will, what groups of others won't. Another cool example is religion and suicide rates. And this comes from
Mm,
sociology. Suicide seems to be so personal, right? It's something
mm,
that like an individual decides to do. Well,
mm-hmm.
then how come suicide rates are so predictable across religions,
Okay. Oh, really? Are they?
across cultures, right? Across societies, across nations? You can predict this many people killed themselves for the last 100 years in this culture, but not in this culture. Why? Why are humans right? What variables play a role in that individual choice? And that's what I'm saying. The more data you look at, the more predictable humanity becomes. Now, just because humanity is predictable doesn't mean a human is. So the stock market is very predictable. In 100 years, I have a 99.9% confidence it's going to be higher than it is today.
Mm-hmm.
But tomorrow, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, high five to that, man. Because like I totally agree. Because and this same philosophy that you're applying on humans can be. So I'm a civil engineer by qualification, right? And I'm specialized in asset management. And even though I can be asset managing a civil structure with very bespoke treatment, but you can almost predict based on previous events and similar type of structure what can potentially go wrong. And that's how you strategize. That's how what makes you a good asset management planner is using past data on a bridge that was around that area or a boating
Right.
facility that was around that area. What happened to it in the past? Oh, okay, this happened. So maybe our concrete grade needs to be up, or maybe we need to build our walls a bit thicker. You know what I mean? And so
Mm-hmm.
we definitely need to, like, I agree, you definitely need to use your intuitive skills in any decision that you make. And that intuition comes from the knowledge of past behavior and past performance.
Right.
And so if you see a certain people in this demographic tend to invest in the stock market more regularly. However, this generation from this localized area tends to do it more sporadically. I guess, like, you can sort of assume, like, you can sort of predict how the stock market's going to be performing for, like, the however long, depends on what you're
Yeah.
studying, of course, but yeah.
Yeah. I see that. I see that point. Yeah.
Yeah, so no, I totally agree. Like, when you said that, yes, um you can't predict what one individual human will be doing, but you can almost always guarantee what humanity will be
Humanity.
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So for anyone who's young and wants to get into behavioral analysis, what would you recommend? Like, how would you tell them, like, to go about it?
I would first watch some videos, and like there's a lot to the field of behaviorism. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
cognitive behavioral therapy, which looks more at thoughts and feelings and emotions, and
Mm-hmm.
how we can have like antecedent thoughts, right? Thoughts that come before thoughts, a trained phrase that we repeat in our minds to help us be more confident, things like
Mm-hmm.
that. While another group of behaviorism looks more at the observable behaviors, right? And arranging the environment, like putting out your weights the day before you're going to do your workout. So step one is
Mm-hmm.
already done. And you can
Mm-hmm.
use that for investing as well. So if you want to get into the field, it is a great field. It is growing very, very rapidly because people use it primarily for like therapy services, but it can go into the business realm quite easily. It can be applied to stock market and financial advisors and how they operate
As
with
you've proven
people who
with
come
your
in.
post, as you've
Yeah,
proven with your post, right? Like behavior isn't just about the individual's behavior; it's about how we respond to our surrounding. And I think one of the key people sometimes think that I can be very money orientated, like,
mhm,
oh, issue just talking about money. And it's like, yeah, because that's, if you believe in the whole chakra system, that's part
mhm,
of our root chakra. Once your root is stable and, once your finances is stable, that affects your behavior in so many ways.
right.
Like if you have a safety net, right? You are not going to be afraid to take a lot more risks in life.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
the debt free journey really does help you get to that freedom.
for,
Like you don't have to be scared to make a big financial decision because you have something to fall back on.
mhm.
You can really see if it will make you happy and, like, test the waters. Yeah. um okay, so except for your page and YouTube, is there anywhere else where your friends can our friends can reach out to you for any financial and behavioral advice?
Yeah, so um, Instagram is really the best place to reach.
Best way, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just financialism on there. In the future, I am planning to like focus more on email. So just in
Yeah.
case like Mark Zuckerberg vanishes and Instagram shuts down or whatnot,
Yeah.
there's still like something there. But I have started a TikTok. You should follow me there. Um,
Oh, nice. I don't have TikTok. I'm
okay.
older than you guys remember.
Oh,
I'm a
there's people
millennial.
older
You're still
than
a Gen Z.
I was watching like a 70-year-old lady today on her TikTok. So agent
That's so
is not part
inspirational.
of it. Yeah, and
No,
she had like
I,
70,000 followers. She knew what she was doing. Um,
that
so yeah, TikTok financialism. That's what I'm focusing on. Like it's a lot of fun, and Instagram is a much kinder place. Let me just tell you that.
Instagram, I have, people give so much slack to social media. I have found, like, include, you being one of them, and I always love bomb you once in a while. As like, I have found lifelong friends on Instagram. Like, I think, like I think so. Like especially, you're friends with Kim as well. Like, I think she's gonna be my, like, friend forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, knock on wood. And same with you. And before we end this conversation, I just wanted to highlight one of the things that you said earlier was that ever since you were a child, you always knew that you didn't need much to be happy, and I think that was a bit of a emotional point for me. I almost teared up when you said that, and that's right. We don't need much to be happy. We need enough to be comfortable and safe, and give our children and our future the healthy life. But after that, we have to prioritize giving back, whether through it's our time, whether through it's our money, whether through our advice or our kindness, our energy, so, like, I really like when he said that you don't need much to be happy. You're right. Because if you feel like you need much to be happy, then I think you might be one of the saddest people, like if you're living in that
Yeah.
material world where you always need to. And, like, yeah, so it was really kind of tear jerking when you said that. I was just like, for a child to have that insight at such a young age, it was really beautiful. And I have a little boy myself,
Oh,
and
cool.
I really, really hope that he grows up to know that it's being there for people and being kind to people is what really brings about joy. And that's human beings, as a behavioral analyst, human beings, we're very social creatures, and that's really where our happiness lies. It's when we look after ourselves and we look after each other. And thank you so much for doing that on Instagram to so many of your followers. You're almost what, at 9,000 now?
Yeah, we're almost there.
Yeah, yeah, like congratulations, and like I hope, again, I wish you the best on your journey, and I think you're gonna come so far in life. You're so young, you're so incredibly young, and you've changed the lives of people like me who's like 5, 6 years older than you, you know? You're teaching people like us, you're changing the ways, you're changing the culture. And like, you know, I hope you know that about yourself, and you know, I hope your mom knows that about you. And your is your grandparents still alive?
So they passed away, but
They're there. They're there. In
mm,
Islam, we believe that they're still there. So you know, they're like you should be so proud of yourself and keep up the good work and keep changing the world and keep changing what young people think money is what money is supposed to be, and
I
keep
appreciate you.
keep up that rap
Oh
going as
yeah,
well.
that
Don't make
mixtape
any
is
bad
coming.
investment. Yeah, yay,
Yeah.
you can't get it. I can't wait. All right. Okay, so before we hang up, so what
So
do I do? I
you push X, that will
yeah.
end the chat, and then it's gonna give you an option to post it on your Instagram page. You want to take that option and say yes, and then
Okay.
just post it. Then you can log on your computer
Yeah.
and go on your Instagram on your computer, and you will type into Google, download IGTV,
Mhm.
just whatever, it'll pop up. You can take the link from your IGTV
Yeah. And then
and you put it into that whatever third party website, it will download the IGTV and you will have it on your computer.
oh, nice. To all of Financialism's friends, thank you for joining us. Feel free to follow me as well, and good luck to everyone. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.